What's up, y'all? What's up? Welcome to the Pugilistic Linguistic Show. I am your host, Michael Foster, the voice of reason in an increasingly unreasonable world, and I am back. Like I say all the time, like, share, subscribe to the podcast, to the channel. I may start putting some other content out there. I'm just knocking some things around in my head right now, but like, share, subscribe to get the podcast at least. Hit the notification bell to be notified when new episodes drop. Just interact with the podcast. Help a brother out. It don't cost you nothing, but 25, 30 minutes of your time. So, today I'm going to wade into the age-old and worn argument. LeBron or Mike? This is a never-ending argument. Like it just won't end. It just won't die. And I guess cats like me who wade into it all, don't help it die, but I'm going to, because it's just something that's just really bugging me. So I want to get it off my chest. Now, I grew up in Chicago during a certain era. So you know who I think the GOAT is. It's Michael Jordan. It's objectively undeniable. The problem with this argument is most people don't enter it objectively. They instill a lot of emotions into this argument. They feel one person or the other is the GOAT, as opposed to just looking at raw numbers, looking at contemporary accounts from people who played with and against them. It's a lot of emotion involved. And that's why this argument is flawed. Because if you look at the numbers on their own, I don't understand how you can objectively say that Michael Jordan is not the GOAT. As a matter of fact, there may be somebody in between Mike and LeBron. And we'll get there in a second. But objectively, Michael Jordan is the career scoring leader average in NBA history. He has 9 scoring titles, 3 MVPs, I believe, 6 finals MVPs, undefeated in the finals, a Defensive Player of the Year award. Along with scaring the hell out of everybody for a 14, 15-year period in the NBA. You couldn't find somebody that wanted it with Mike in his prime. Now, don't get me wrong. There were cats that hung with him. Dominique Wilkins hung with him. Joe Dumars was probably the only person I knew that could put the clamps on him as much as you put the clamps on Michael Jordan. Ron Harper in his prime would give Michael numbers. So it's not as if nobody could hang with him. But generally speaking, he was head and shoulders above damn near everybody in the league for a good 10-year stretch. And that's objective. That is undeniable. Ask anybody who played against him or with him, and they will tell you to a man, I ain't wanted with him. Vernon Maxwell, who comes on the podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, tickles me. First of all, he cracks me up. He tells these stories about him in the 80s, because 80s and 90s, because he was out of pocket back then. But even he said, look, I ain't wanted with that man. He was the only person I went to bed at a reasonable time the night before and got some rest. Because he knew if I didn't, he knew if he didn't, he'd get embarrassed. And that was the thing. Along with Mike's numbers, he was an assassin on the court. He was a madman on the court. There was something wrong with him when he was competing. You know how you deal with somebody, you just look at him, something wrong with this cat. Yeah, something was wrong with him when he was competing. And he would compete with anything. Cards or, golf or, I can't tell you the stories. And how much better would he have been had he taken care of his body? The stories have come out now. The man didn't sleep. The man didn't eat. The man would put away 36 beers on a golf course before a game and go out and score 40. Craig Hodges tells a story about how they were in Miami, I believe, and they were coming back to the hotel from a shoot around. And Mike told the bus driver to drop him off at this bar. And he sat at the bar and drank all day. And they came back and picked him up on the way to the game. And he put up 40. And they said you could smell the alcohol on him. How much better would Mike have been if he took care of his body the way they, with all the sports science and all that stuff today? This was a man who abused his body and went out and put up 40 with regularity. Didn't get tired. The only time I ever saw him tired was when he had food poisoning, and he still put up 40. So objectively, Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Now, LeBron fans hate to hear that. Because what they're going to do is trot out all these counting stats. Well, LeBron James has scored the most points in NBA history. Yeah. He's also played the most seasons in NBA history. A high volume player that scores a lot of points, if you play for 20 some odd years, of course you're going to stack up counting stats. The top 10 in assists or top 10 in rebounds. Yeah, those are all counting stats. Stats that you will accumulate with longevity and relative health. And I'm not discounting that. But what I am saying is, let Mike play for 22 years, 23 years. At the rate that he was going, he'd have scored 80,000 points. Easy. Playoffs and regular season, he'd have scored 80,000 points. The fact that LeBron has the most points in NBA history, which accompanies the most seasons in NBA history, doesn't amount to a hill of beans. It's impressive, but is that GOAT worthy? How much better was LeBron than his contemporaries? And to that, I will say, not consistently. No, you had the Shaqs, you had the Kobes, you had, Tracy McGrady was a scorer. Kevin Durant is a scorer. Steph Curry is a scorer. SGA is a scorer. All these folk score points. They lead the league in scoring. But I think the most telling thing is this. When Mike hit the pinnacle, nobody else ate. When Mike led the Bulls to the 91 championship, every year he was on the court for a full season, Because remember, he left for a season and a half in the middle of this. But every year that he was on the court for the full season, nobody else ate. Michael Jordan is the reason that Charles Barkley has no rings. Michael Jordan is the reason why Patrick Ewing has no rings, or Reggie Miller has no rings. Towards the end, Allen Iverson has no rings. Michael Jordan is the reason. But when LeBron hit the pinnacle and won his first championship, a whole lot of folk ate after LeBron. The Spurs ate. The Celtics ate. The Pistons ate. The Warriors ate. The Thunder is eating. The Nuggets ate. The Bucks ate. Everybody seems to eat on LeBron's watch. But nobody ate on Mike's watch. Legitimately, had Mike not retired, you'd know the Bulls would have won 8 straight. That is almost undeniable. So that's my issue with LeBroniacs. They ignore objective facts. Nobody ate when Mike hit the pinnacle. Everybody ate when LeBron hit the pinnacle. Now, as a man, as a person, there's an argument to be made that LeBron James is a better person than Michael Jordan. Culturally and politically and all that. You can make an argument for that. But this is a basketball argument. And for sheer basketball, I don't see LeBron over Mike. I just don't. But my biggest issue with LeBron James is this: his incessant narcissism. And I guess when you've been anointed the next coming, the King James, since you was 15, I guess eventually you're going to believe that you are that dude. You are the next coming. You are the greatest. I can't help but to think that is how you start to think, because everybody's been telling you this since you were a sophomore in high school. And you behave that way. Look, free agency is in the NBA for a reason. You have the right to go wherever you want to go after your contract expires. I am not angry he went to Miami the first time. Well, I kind of am, and I'll explain that in a second. But I am mad about the way he did it. Look, certain dudes owe a certain thing to a certain area. There's more to this than just playing basketball. LeBron James to the Cleveland area means more than a Jaylen Brown in Philly, or Steph Curry originally in Golden State out in Oakland. Because LeBron was from there. He was a hometown kid. And he gave that downtrodden city some hope. Like it or not, that's the case. Now, when he decides to go to Miami, I think it was 2010. When he decides to go to Miami, I think rational people could understand he has that right. But to go on national television and do this whole decision TV show to rip the hearts out of all Cleveland fans was just wrong to me. And that started ESPN's true fascination. No, not fascination. Not upset. I'm going to say obsession for lack of a better word. I'm going to come up with a better word as I'm talking. But ESPN's obsession with LeBron James. But to do it that way was just wrong. He said I guess he raised funds for the local Boys and Girls Club. Okay. I guess some good came out of it. But how he did it was wrong. Especially with the way he came up short in big moments during his time in Cleveland. There were games, like I think it was against the Celtics in the playoffs, where he just disappeared. There were a few times during his tenure in Cleveland, his first tenure in Cleveland, where he came up short in the biggest moments. And then to take his talents to South Beach. See, this is my thing. When shit got thick, LeBron James bails. When shit gets thick, he quits. Shit has to be perfect for him to stick it out. And his fans make every excuse under the sun for him. Look, I'm going to do a lot of comparing with Mike and LeBron, so just deal with it. When Mike was playing with the Bulls, and they played against the Celtics in '85, I want to say. And Mike dropped 63 on them. You know, the game where Larry Bird said, "I saw God and he's Michael Jordan." They still lost that series. I think they got swept that series, actually. And Mike took the blame. He took the brunt of the blame for that. Even though he was cooking them dudes. But Mike took the blame. It was his fault. He doesn't make his team better. He's too me first. He doesn't have a good jumper. He has no handle. It was everything under the sun as to why Michael Jordan failed his team in the playoffs. Now, what they don't tell you is the cats he was playing with Quentin Daly and Ennis Watson and Granville Waiters and cats like that. And everybody was pretty much, I won't say allegedly, everybody was high on cocaine during the cocaine cowboy days of the NBA. Mike tells a story about how they were on the road and he walks into a room in the hotel and it was more blow than Tony Montana's house. So it's not as if we're making this up. But Mike took the brunt of that. And every playoff failure since then, he took the brunt of the losses. I think the only time he truly didn't get blamed is when Scottie came up with the migraines against Detroit. 88, 89, something like that. But every other time it was Mike's fault because he didn't make his team better. But what they were doing, they were building something. What you didn't see Michael Jordan do, amongst all that playoff failure, is jump ship or recruit his friends to come have a chance. You didn't see Michael Jordan calling up Charles Barkley or Larry Bird or Magic Johnson or Patrick Ewing or Clyde Drexler or whoever. Come on, Chicago, man. Let's team up and do some Super Friends type shit. No. Because he was cut from a different cloth. He saw pleasure. Maybe pleasure is the right word, but he saw benefit in beating his rivals. It was more satisfying if I beat Larry Bird, if I beat Magic Johnson or Charles Barkley or Clyde Drexler or Patrick Ewing or whoever else. It was more to it to beat them than to join them. LeBron James doesn't have that in him. He wants to team up with his friends to create a super team. And I hear the LeBroniacs now, but what about the 95 Bulls? They were super Mike, Scotty, and Dennis Rodman. Yeah, but guess what? That was a Jerry Krause doing. He got the best players that he could find. Mike didn't recruit Dennis Rodman. Mike didn't recruit Ron Harper. Mike didn't recruit anybody. LeBron, however, has back alley deals with a Dwayne Wade and a Chris Bosh. Let's all go to Miami. Well, Wade was already there. But let's all go to Miami and team up. But when Miami fails, it's Eddie House's fault. Really? LeBron James was getting cooked by J.J. Barea and Jason Terry against the Mavericks in 2011. But it was the rest of the team's fault? It's funny, when LeBron James wins, he was the reason why they won. But when LeBron James loses, it's everybody else's fault. If not for Ray Allen, they wouldn't have beat the Spurs. You tell me, what finals did LeBron James win where he was an integral part of it? Like, if not for him, they would have lost. And then the goalposts keep moving too. LeBron James is 4-6 in finals. Well, winning don't matter. Since when? If winning doesn't matter, why is he hopping all over the country trying to stack these teams? Explain that to me. He went back to Cleveland because Kyrie was there. And Kyrie Irving was the reason why they won that 2016 championship. Not LeBron. That bubble championship in 2020, that was just, I mean, it was a championship. Don't get me wrong, but that was just a sham. And I would submit that Anthony Davis had more to do with that. Point out a final series that LeBron James won where he was an integral part of it. Don't worry, I'll wait. And if you do that in the comments, I want a well thought out argument. Because if you don't, I'm going to cook you. But when shit gets thick, LeBron James runs. He's always done that. He has never stuck it out. His first tour in Cleveland, he had good coaches. Mike Brown was his coach. He ran Mike Brown out of town. Mike Brown just won a championship with the Knicks. He ran David Blatt out of town. David Blatt was 31 or 33 and 11 at the time that they forced him out. And he was a EuroLeague championship coach. But he didn't kiss LeBron's ass. So he had to go. He wants out of LA. First of all, LA has basically said we've had enough of you. But he wants out of LA because it's Luka's team. It ain't his. And we ain't paying you $50 million to be a second fiddle. He's not going to do it. So what does he do? He's going to hold his free agency decision until a time where he can be the center of attention. That's GOAT worthy? This is your king? That playoff series, I think it was the finals when J.R. Smith had a brain fart and threw the ball away or whatever at the end of the game. And they go into overtime. LeBron James quit in overtime. He checked out. Everybody said it then. The commentators after the game said it. The commentators during the game said it. He quit. And the game wasn't over. J.R. Smith's boneheaded play didn't end the game. It just sent it into overtime. You still got a chance. You the so-called best player on earth and you quit? He is indicative of a lot of people in this generation. He wants all the accolades. He wants everybody to extol how great he is. But when shit gets thick, he folds or he quits or he runs. A lot of people in today's generation, today's society do that. A lot of people do that. There's something to be said for having some intestinal fortitude, to having some balls to stick tough situations out. And I'm not saying it's everybody, but it's enough of them. And he is their ringleader. He is their spokesperson. He is their cult leader. Shit gets thick, I'm going to go somewhere where it's sweet. That's what he's doing now. He's trying to find him a team to where he thinks he can coast to another championship and catch Kobe, who I think is number 2 actually. Last thing I'll say. In my thought process, LeBron James is the 3rd greatest player ever. 3rd greatest player ever. And the kicker is LeBron James fans take that as an insult. Ever. How many thousands of people have played in the NBA? 3rd greatest ever. And that's an insult? For all the reasons I just spoke up, is what keeps him from being a GOAT. Ever? And that's an insult? Recency bias is a mother. Again, you want all the accolades. You want all the roses and the flowers. You want all that shit. But you can't stick around when shit gets thick. Only time I've seen LeBron James build a team is when he went to Miami. And he built a team. He's not my GOAT. Objectively, I can make an argument for Michael Jordan dispassionately. See, I don't have to attach passion to why I think Mike is the greatest. I can lay down stats. I can give you anecdotes. I can give you nobody's afraid to play LeBron James. Michael Jordan instilled fear in cats that he went against. Nobody's scared of LeBron James. Nobody's worried about being embarrassed by him. But they knew if you fucked around with Mike, you was going to find out. That right there says everything. So, I think I've made my case pretty convincingly. But if you disagree or think something else is going on, or you think somebody else is the GOAT, let me know in the comments. Make sure it's a dispassionate argument. Make sure you can accurately and adequately convey your thoughts. Because I will cook you in the comments if you come at me sideways. Once again, like, share, subscribe. Thank y'all for coming out. I hope to see you all again. Make sure when you come in my home, you wipe your feet. Say the spell, take a load off. But until we meet again, like I say all the time, take care of yourselves and each other, because we all we got. Peace.